Continuous improvement practiced by everyone in an organization will drive improved performance and productivity. But to do that, you need a participative style of leadership that drives teamwork. I'll explain how to achieve that in this video. In my most recent video, I talked about the leadership style of Donald Trump and how it is highly autocratic and compared it to a participative style of leadership. So what does it require to develop really a culture that drives continuous improvement? And one of the best companies in the world to learn from is Toyota, who have elevated their performance year after year to be the most profitable automotive manufacturer in the world, and they continue to lead. So what does it take to emulate that in terms of having products, services, because continuous improvement can be applied to both manufacturing, distribution, service. Any company can continuously improve their operations, their processes, and that's going to lead to better products, more profitable organization, happier employees. All the benefits are there. And sometimes I ask myself the question, why aren't more people or more companies putting that into practice? Well, let's go through a list of what you need to do to implement that and see if you're willing to do that. So the first step is to have a strategy. Understand what it requires to implement this and make it part of your strategic business plan. And that way you will put it into practice, have it in writing, engage your management team, your employees, and make it as something that you must achieve in your organizations, because it does require, in most cases, some form of organizational transformation. And of course, there's going to be challenges along the way. So the first thing is really a strategy followed by a commitment by leadership, by management to accomplish that. Now, you also need to establish, I would think, a committee or a team. Now, that could be comprised of management, but also of employees, to be like a steering committee to manage the process, to take ownership of it, and to ensure that all the steps required are being taken. So that's one part of the strategy. But you also have to understand your personal values or the personal values of top management and the organizational values of the company. Now, oftentimes organizational values, personal values aren't well defined and maybe not aligned, but it's important that your values align with the principles of participative leadership. Now, if we go back to the example of Trump, his style is very autocratic, which aligns with his values. And his values are really protecting himself, his family, his country, and that creates a protectionist type of approach to dealing with other countries, dealing in business as well, and that's marked his reputation. Now, that works for him, and it could work for the country if people support that and trust him to do the right thing for the country. But it's not always the case, and of course, there's a lot of opposition to that. Now, of course, at times, everybody needs to be autocratic in emergencies and so on, but to support a participative leadership style of organization that drives continuous improvement, most of the time you need to practice a more democratic, I call it participative approach. I don't like necessarily the word democratic, because I think that's too extreme, but more participative minded. So you get people involved in practicing continuous improvement, and that so everybody's working towards the same improvement goals and are committed to what needs to be done to achieve them. So establishing your values and making sure your values align with the requirements for participative leadership. Now, Toyota is known for something they call the Toyota Way. It's been published in books, and respect for people is one of the things that is key to their mission or principle. So people-centered, valuing people, respect for people, involving people, seeing people as a great asset for contributing to the success of the organization is something that is part and has become part of their culture. They've recognized the importance and incorporate that in their philosophy and what drives their thinking and their actions. So you need to see if your values, if your style aligns with that type of thinking about people, how you value people and their contribution. Now, to do that, you could use my tools to set your organizational values and your personal values as well. I have a video and actually worksheets that you could download for free to do that. So I'm going to put links in the description of this video, and you could start working on that. Now, you also need to know yourself. What type of person are you? What type of leader? Because our personal type will drive our attitude and our philosophy towards others, towards control or less control, collaboration, all those words which are important. Collaboration, of course, is extremely important as a leadership philosophy in order for the process to work. And so what are your values? What is your type? Trump tends to be a very aggressive type that I call him an idealist, the type that is very goal-oriented and very controlling, wants to be in control of everything, wants to win in any situation. And that doesn't always lean well for participative leadership style. Now, I do have a few resources you can consult. One is a leadership style assessment. And again, there's links to that in the description. And I also have a types of people learning test, you can call it, where I walk through how to determine your type. And you could then get a feel, does your type or who you are, your values, your type, align with what's required to implement a participative leadership style. So those are the things you need to first determine before you embark actually on implementing anything. Of course, once you are committed to it and you're willing to form a team and communicate what your plans are to your organization, to your management team, get everybody behind it, then of course you need to implement it and take action. And I always recommend training, foundational leadership training. We have a course called Style of Leadership and Team Development for leaders, and we have one for team members called My Team and I. And this will provide the foundation for learning the skills required to implement both participative leadership and teamwork as well, because there's communication skills involved, there's understanding the process, understanding how to arrive at consensus. And, when you build teamwork, you go through different stages. And you could look up stages of team development. There's classic articles and books written on that, from norming, storming, that type of thing. We have our own definitions in our courses. But along the way, to go through each stage, you need to develop certain skills, both the leaders and team members. And I do have videos that describe that as well. I have a playlist on teamwork and actually one on leadership styles as well. So check those out, find the appropriate one, and it'll explain it more into depth. And I'll make new videos on the whole implementation. I'll break it down in future videos as well on participative leadership and implementing that into your organizations. But things like learning how to do proper brainstorming, problem-solving sessions, and building how to delegate to both individuals and teams so they can take on more responsibility to contribute ideas to continuous improvement using problem-solving techniques, and how to present that to management. So these are all things that come along with the process of implementing continuous improvement, and those are skills, or some of the skills people need to learn to implement that. So once you start implementing, and this is also the role of the steering committee, or whatever you want to call it, task force, there's so many different names, but you want to have some accountability, just like you would map out any change process or objective. You want to be able to track and measure your progress and make sure that things are staying on track. And when they don't, when they're off track, because there's going to be internal obstacles, external obstacles, that you could use problem-solving techniques to come up with solutions. So commitment by management is really a key thing to work through all the challenges and obstacles that may appear along the way. So I think there's tremendous benefit to implementing a participative style of leadership and a commitment to continuous improvement. And Toyota is a great example, but as in my previous video on Trump, I mentioned also Google, Microsoft, I forget the other company, but there was another one as well that I mentioned. But there's many great companies that have adapted and continue to adapt a participative leadership style to involve employees more in decision-making, innovation, creativity, but it starts with a leadership mindset. So I hope you are motivated to check this out further. As I mentioned, I have many videos covering just different components of this process, which check out the playlist and the links in the description. And if you haven't already subscribed, do so now. Turn on notifications to get news of new videos. And I'm going to be publishing more about a step-by-step process to achieve this type of transformation in your organization. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk again soon.